do when life throws you curveballs, leading to heartbreak and significant change? On this episode of Life Jack the Resilience podcast, I welcome back Jade, an inspiring entrepreneur and podcaster who has bravely navigated the challenges of a difficult marriage and emerged stronger than ever. After 6 years of counseling and facing infidelity and betrayal, Jade found the strength to leave a toxic relationship and embark on a journey of self-discovery and healing. Now, remarried and thriving, she uses her experiences to empower others through her podcast, Unfiltered by Jade, all while embracing her role as a devoted mother. Listen to Jade's resilience story, share her resilience story and her insights on personal growth, purpose, and the importance of a supportive network. Hi, Jade. Welcome back. Yes. So, I'm transitioning to video from audio. So I had a little bit of a stumble there, but hey, that you just
Listen,
keep going.
You're doing it. It's good. It's good.
All right. So let's get to it. How have you been?
I have been sleepless and tired, but I'm good.
Aren't we all these days? Aren't we all?
I'm good. I mean, I'm navigating. I'm navigating school. I'm doing my master's, so I'm navigating that. I'm balancing that with my daughter. She's keeping me up. Life is lifing, but we're here.
Yes, that's it. Life does life. Congratulations on starting your master's
Thank
program.
you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if you can, I'm going to just jump in right to our first question.
Sure.
So can you share if your perspective on resilience has evolved since we last spoke?
So thinking about that question, that's a good question, because then it makes sure I introspect to see where I was at that time and where I'm at now. So resilience for me has evolved in a way where at that time when I had spoken, I'm not quite sure what I had said at that time, but now I'm seeing that I have I've done more introspection in myself, and I'm learning to fight more for what I want, and things that I can't change, I leave. Because sometimes we find ourselves fighting things that we know we can't change just because we want to make it. But we have to also look and see, okay, me fighting for this, is it going to make me better, or it's not going to make me better? And because of doing that, I've become more resilient in how I fight and what I fight for and how I fight for it. So I see that change in me in how things are done in being resilient, because I'm more resilient in terms of me being able to fight for now the things that I know benefits me. Before, I was just fighting for everything. It probably didn't benefit me. It probably wasn't, working out for me, and I was fighting for it. But being resilient and building that for myself, I realize I'm a better person because I'm fighting for the things that just benefit me. It benefits me. Yeah.
I love it. I love that, because a lot of times we're thinking like, okay, I got to fight for everybody else, that I got to put everybody else's needs before mine. And when it's like, no, as they always say, on the airplane, you got to put your oxygen mask on first. But I know as mothers, women, we forget that. We forget that
do.
so often. So kudos to you for recognizing that and remembering that you have to take care of you first. Now, in the previous episode, when you were on the audio-based podcast, we had a conversation and you discussed the emotional pain you experienced during your marriage, your first marriage. So what specific moments or realizations helped you decide that you needed to leave?
Dr. O, I believe I loved myself at that point. Before, I kind of like myself, and I think I loved myself. I lost that during the marriage. But at the defining moment is when there are things that happened. And I mean, I think before I spoke about me being locked out of my home. And I'm locked out and I'm saying, should I fight for this or should I not? And I had to say to myself, if you stay in this, you do not love yourself. You are being treated bad. You are being abused. Everything is happening. And you want to fight for something that is not beneficial to you anymore. That's not self love. And I think also, I'm a Christian and I keep saying I was born on the pulpit. My parents are pastors or they were pastors. So being born in the church is almost as if you want to keep on fighting for marriage because it's a marriage and you're told to fight. But I have to say to myself, would God want me to be in something that is causing me to want to take my own life? I don't think so. So
Mm.
I fought for self love and I decided that, hey, I love myself, so I'm not going to stay this anymore. That's the defining moment for me. And when I came to that conclusion, I did not go back. There are times before that I'd gone back, and I don't think I loved myself enough to leave.
Mm.
So when it is that I was aware and I decided, hey, I'm going to love myself enough to leave, that's the defining moment for me. Normally, and it is that I advocate it for people sometimes going through situations in their own marriage when it is that they, people will say, no, you need to leave, you need to get up and leave. People can't just get up and leave.
Right.
You can't just get up and leave. You have to make a decision on your own to do so because 9 out of 10 times the people who tell you to get up and leave are not there to help you when you leave that situation, right? So I had to make a choice on my own to get up and leave and to fight for myself and to love on me. And that's a defining moment for me.
No, absolutely. And I know you and I have had this conversation also. We share that in common, with me also being in
Hmm.
a marriage that was abusive and
Hmm.
not favorable in what we
Right,
think of matters of the heart and love. And you're
right.
right, it is hard to leave. People think you're being mistreated. You should just be able to walk away and
Hmm.
leave. But there's so many factors that you have to
Yes.
consider,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
For me, I also had children involved, and so it is a very difficult
Yes,
decision.
it is. Hmm.
It is. It
Very, very
is. And you're
difficult.
right. You don't know if there's anyone who's going to support you in that process.
True.
Um,
Because
be-
during that time, most of the people who had known some of the situations and said, oh, you need to leave, were not there when I called to them when it happened.
yeah.
They were not. So it's a lesson learned also. And I couldn't be mad at them because there majority of the times people would tell you to just leave without even they don't give you resources, they don't tell you how, they don't tell you what's gonna happen, they're not there. And the times when you feel lonely because not because you're leaving a marriage does not mean you're not saddened and does not mean that you're not going to feel lonely and you're not going to feel bad that it happened and you're going to grieve because you were with this person. It's
Yeah.
almost like you're grieving death.
No.
So it's
Yes.
going to be difficult for you to get up and leave, and you don't necessarily know the tools. You have to learn the tools, and strangely fact, as a social worker, so I should know the tools, but when you're in the situation, you don't
Right.
know how to help yourself.
That's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. Now you mentioned that you had a self-development practice and it played a key role in your healing process. So can you elaborate on some of the self-development practices for the viewers that were particularly impactful for you?
Apart from counseling, because I went to counseling, as I said earlier in the introduction, for 6 years. Well, I went to counseling for 6 years during the marriage, and I went to counseling after the marriage. I went to too many counseling sessions, but I see it as beneficial to me. That was one of the self-care activities that I did. I also jotted down things in terms of writing. So I wrote down, what is it that I love about myself? I need to get back to that. And what is it that I don't, I feel like I need to work on, right? And those are some of the practices that have helped me even navigating it. Why is it that I left this person? Why is it that if it is I want to go back, I should not go back? And I have to tell myself and write it plain so I can see it for myself to say, hey, this is not a good situation. You can hear it all the time and you can be in it and seeing it, but writing it down and looking at it, you're like, no. I would tell somebody after writing it down and looking at it, I'll tell somebody to run if they showed me that. So why am I staying it for myself? And I had to do that for myself. I also, for self-discovery, try to figure out, okay, what is it that Gloria loves? I don't know anything else about myself at this point. Start to now rediscover who I am. Who am I without this person? You know, we have been together for 6 years, and our life was enmeshed, and everything I did was for that person. So who am I now? I lost myself during that marriage. So I had to get back to myself, develop, okay, these are things I like, these are things I'll tolerate, these are things I won't tolerate. Um, Even my personality, is this my personality, or did I develop this personality type because I was this with this person? I had to uncover and rediscover myself totally all over again. Yeah, so some of those are some self-care activities, and spend time with me.
Uh-huh.
I never, during the marriage, it was all about that person. So it was all about spending time with someone. For the first time after 6 years, I had to learn how to be by myself and discover what it is to be myself. Till now, I love being by myself.
Yes, I understand that for sure. And finding self-love or love for yourself is challenging, right?
It is. It is.
Because especially if you're going to be authentic, right? And you're really going to be
Mhm,
transparent with yourself,
mhm,
right? And you're sitting with
mhm.
yourself and you're just really thinking about who you are and how to best love yourself. And so, how did you go about ensuring that you truly loved yourself, right? The way that you needed to love you
Mm.
during your journey of healing. Because right, because we always hear from others, oh, you should do this and you should do that and you should do this. But how did you go about learning how to love yourself, specifically how you needed to do it?
I started creating boundaries.
Uh-huh.
So it was hard. It was hard because I want to be there for everybody. I want to do things, and I had to say no. I need to love on me now. So I created boundaries. So if it is that, and it's gonna sound harsh, but if it is that there are people around me who I thought no longer served me because what they were saying was not helping me or building me, I got rid of it. I got rid of them. That was starters for me. So then I realized no, I was lonely. I had no friends really because everybody who I thought were friends were not. Um, so I had to navigate that situation. And then I also had to, I don't know, majority of it started from boundaries. So there are times also where I wanted to love me for who I am. And there are times people are like, oh, maybe you should try it this way. And I know that's the way you like it. I'm done trying the way how people want me to try things to make me happy and love myself. I want to do it my way. Because normally you hear, okay, to love yourself, you probably need to go to the beach and relax and you'll find yourself. And no, I don't like the beach really. So I'm not going to go to the beach. All right. So let's find a different way. For me, it's probably sitting down in my room, reading a book and loving on me. Probably painting, I simply just painting my nails and loving on me. People before, before it was like, oh, I don't like the loud colors. Well, I'm painting loud colors because I like loud colors. I'm doing things for myself that satisfy me. If you don't like it, that's your business. This is
That's
about me.
it. That's it. And I agree with you. That's what loving yourself your way. I totally agree with you. That's what it's all about. It's doing what makes you happy.
Yeah.
It's doing what gives you joy inside. And so,
Regardless of what anybody else think.
yeah, no, exactly. That's it.
Mhm.
Like, right? It's truly the embodiment of if I like it, then you should love it. Right? Sure. So you have said that your support system included your, counselors or
Mhm.
therapists and family
Mhm.
during your tough time.
Right.
But what were the telltale signs, or how did you really know that they were truly being supportive for you in that process? Because we have a lot of people that can be around us, right? And we think that they are being supportive, but then we find out later, but not really. Like they were being supportive with you and then talking about you behind your back, right? And so that's not really helping your healing. But how do you know like that somebody is truly being supportive? I did one, didn't I? Because you know what I'm talking about.
So a lot of them weren't, okay? And this included some family members too, right? Hard to say, but it's the truth. Because some of them were like, well, I worked through mine, so you should stay and work through yours. It's a marriage. Those things happen. Um,
Oh yeah, there's
and
that.
yeah. Um, and I, I, to be honest, I don't think I got the support I needed from my family. From my friends, I don't think I got the support I needed because it was some of them were like, oh well, you should do what him do to him, or okay, all right. So a little behind it is, and I think I said it in our podcast that we did before, is that the only thing I left that marriage with is high blood pressure. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So I left that marriage with nothing. It means that everything I brought to it, I left because at the point he wanted to keep my things so that I have to fight him for it in court. I wasn't gonna fight anybody for anything. So I left him with them because I believe God is gonna give me back everything that I've lost. And it has happened, and that's where I went with it. And people were not accepting of that, especially women. You can't let a man take everything that you have worked for. And why you're going to do that? For me, it's earthly possessions. One of the things that I led with in terms of that is my father passed. When my father passed, he had everything. My father had things. My father had all this doctorate and whatever it is. When he died, I looked at him and in his hands, there was nothing.
Mm.
He went with absolutely nothing that he came on he had when he was on earth, and that for me spoke volumes. So when it is that people were saying, oh, you need to fight for things or whatever, and I was like, I'm not fighting for it. A lot of them were angry with me for my decision
Mm.
of not fighting for it, because for me, you can fight for things. If you die tomorrow, you're not going with them.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I can always start over. People are afraid to start over, and I'm not afraid to start. I was afraid then. But now starting over means a fresh start. You don't need to go with the things that you had. Because imagine me looking at the stuff and getting upset because I remember in this man. I don't want to do that. So for me, it was also getting rid of people around me, friends, whoever it is, or people who I thought were friends,
Yes.
because they were not supporting me. Not to say that they were supposed to support everything I did, but they were not being there for me genuinely. It was, oh well, he's this person, he's that, and he's bad. And I don't normally also want to talk bad about the person because he's still a person. And some of the mistakes that were made, it was made because I allowed it to.
Yeah.
And I also take acceptance, or accept that I also added certain things, because Dr. Rowe, I was not sitting down there when he was doing what he was doing and being the angel. I was not doing that. I was responding, and my mouth also caused a lot of issues. I'm gonna say that. So I'm taking accountability for my part. What I did.
I mean,
Right?
that's huge. That's huge for you to be able to do that, because although the relationship was difficult, right? And
Mm-hmm.
um, very much of the trauma that you went through was
Mm-hmm.
from your partner. But it's
Mm-hmm.
very good of you to also say, well, I did have a few parts in it as well
Mm-hmm.
that were, not as positive.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
know.
huge. So let me ask you, in what ways did counseling, right? Because you went through
Right.
counseling,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so how did counseling help you process your feelings? Because obviously, like you were able to do right now, that's processing your feelings, right? You're taking
Mm-hmm.
accountability for the piece and the parts that you played within the marriage as well. And then how do you think that as you're taking accountability, how has it helped you in your life now after the divorce and now in your new marriage?
So, from the get-go of the separation, I actually took accountability for what I did. That's something that the councils were like, people, he's done everything and you're taking accountability. In fact, they were telling me that I'm taking too much accountability. I'm trying to protect this person. Um, but what I took from the counseling is that I can't change him. So a part of my fault is that I also went in to try and help him to be better because he told me, "Oh, I want you to help me to be a better man," and I thought that I could. Right? So that was one of the problems. So what I have learned from it is I can't save people. I can't help people beyond where they want to go and what they want to do.
You
And
cannot.
I've taken that with me now. And in life, with people around me, where it may be friends, my husband, no. If he's how he is, I can't save you. But I know that if it is that it's not working out for me, it's not working out for me. I'm not going to try and help you to be better. If it is that you don't want it, and I think I did that too much in my past. I'm not here to be Jesus because I have no nail prints in my hands. So I can't do what Jesus can do. So I tend to leave people where you're at. If it is that you need help, you're gonna have to seek professional help for it. I can't do
Mhm.
it. I can be there to cheer you, you go, but there's nothing else I can do about it. So I've taken that even into this marriage. So there are things that I have been in this marriage, and there are things I've not been happy about.
Right.
And I have said, you know what, instead of going back to what I've done before previously and try.
Right. It's hard for us to realize that we are not our partner's therapist. Right.
Mm, thank you.
It's not our job to carry their trauma. It's
That part.
not our job to fix them. It's not
That
our job
part.
to do any of those things. They have to do their healing on their own. And you're exactly right. You can cheer them on. You can support them. You can tell them, "I am here for you." But you're right. You're not
And
supposed.
it's also boundaries because,
Yes.
as I said,
Yes.
a social worker helps.
Mhm.
That's what we do. So I
Yeah.
have to separate that when I'm at home with my husband, and I'm not your social worker. I'm not your. You have to figure that out.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
No. Now, you talk about finding purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And you say that when you find your purpose, that it's a key building block of resilience. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you discover your purpose, and what influence has it had on your life and career?
I think my purpose has always been known from the get go. It's to help people. I like to help people. Um, and I think it's also because of the trauma that I've endured, not just as someone who has been in a bad marriage, but someone who has been raped, someone who has um, tried committing suicide, someone who has been addicted to things before pills, someone who has had depression, someone who has had all those traumatic events. I've dealt with a lot of death. There's a lot of things I have dealt with. So for me as a person, my purpose is to help people, to educate people, and to help them to advocate for themselves. You have a voice, use it. You can use it in a respectful way. Have a voice, use it. That's my purpose. And it has helped me in my career up to this point, even when I was not doing social work and I was doing something else. It also carried into that where I was helping people and helped to build people and help to motivate people to get them to where they ought to be. Noted though, that there are times when I need to learn that, hey, you have done enough, you can
Yeah.
leave it now. So working on that work in progress with that. But that is me because you can push people and you can help people and you can give them all the tools, but if they don't use it, it's not beneficial.
No, most definitely.
Yeah.
As they say, you can bring a horse to the
Yes,
water,
sir.
make
Yes,
them
sir.
drink. But then they don't even know that they're thirsty.
Exactly.
Right?
What are you gonna do? Push them in there to drink it? You can't do that.
Right. That's it. That's it. Now, accepting change can be difficult, right? And that's
Yes,
just
it
like
is.
you talked about earlier. It's like, oh, I don't know if I can start over, because if you're starting over, that's a change, right? And
It
it's
is.
hard because you don't know what's going to happen. It's ambiguous, it's unknown, and that causes fear. But what strategies do you recommend to other people who might be struggling with accepting change, or knowing that they it kind of stops them, or they're hesitant because they fear change?
Do it scared. Anything you're doing, do it afraid. Do it scared as long as you're doing it. Because if it is that you are not changing, and if things are not changing, and you're not evolving, and you're not learning, you're dying, you're staying stagnant. You don't want to die. You don't want to stay stagnant. You don't want to miss out on an opportunity because of fear. Fear is a killer and it will cripple you. So, anytime, even for myself, if I'm afraid to go into the waters and to navigate, I do it scared. I do it. At the end of the day, I do it. What is it going to do? It's not going to take off anything off your shoulder to do it. It's not going to. So that's what I normally motivate people. And say, you're afraid, do it. That's the best time to do it, when you're scared. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it. Just do it, right? Yeah,
Do it.
there's this thing from Mel Robbins, and she has the 5 second rule. And I don't know if you've heard it in viewers out there. And if you haven't read her book, the 5 second rule is amazing. And it's like, anytime you don't want to do something or you're scared to do it, you just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and
Jump
then
in.
just do it. You're right. And I love what you said. You do it scared.
Yes.
You're right, because whether you're scared doing it, right, or you're not scared doing it, you don't know what the outcome is going to be anyway, right? So, hey, just do, as you said, you just do it. Just jump in there and do it. I love it. I
Yep.
love it. Which brings me to the word optimism, right?
Mm.
Optimism. And in order for you to embrace change, I think, successfully, is the way you do that is because you have optimism. So, how do you maintain a positive outlook now, especially during challenging times?
Do I? That's a wrong. I'm telling you. Do I? Or when things are challenging, I'm not up. I'm, to be frank and to be very clear, I'm not always optimistic about things. I panic. I have a little panic, and then I say,
And
you know
that to
what,
be
Jade?
all. That means you're human.
Yeah. And then I say, you know what, Jade? Let's do this. Pull it together. And I start from somewhere. I just start. And then, all right, being a podcaster. Let's look at this as being a podcaster. We're both podcasters when we're doing it, and it
Yeah.
is that, first of all, if we're doing a podcast, we're scared. It might be a challenge. Who's gonna listen to our podcast? Hmm? But here you are after a year doing the video. Okay,
I'm doing
you did it,
video.
and you're exactly, look at that. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Um, for me, even, how am I gonna get people to come on the podcast? And it's gonna be a challenge, and I'm gonna have a meltdown. Initially, I cried in the bath. Listen, cried. What am I doing? I don't want to do this. So, listen, after almost 6 years of trying to figure it out and trying to say, what am I gonna do? It's 4 years, and I am in 70 countries worldwide, and I am continuing to do it. What does that mean? It means that not because it's a challenge means you can't do it. Not
Mhm.
because it's a challenge means
Yeah.
that you're not supposed to do it and you're supposed to run away. Because it's a challenge, you're supposed to embrace it and go for it. Challenges don't mean that along the way you're not going to cry. You may cry, you may buck your toe, you may experience some things that throw you off. What does
Yeah.
that mean? It means continue pushing and continue going for what you want. Challenge yourself to be better than where you were last week. Always
Yes.
challenge yourself to be and doing that, you're gonna start being optimistic about it. So if it is
Yeah.
that I send out for 10 guests, or I want somebody and I send them and I send to 10 people, probably 5 of them said no, but you know what? 5 said yes. And I'm okay with the 5 that said yes than the 5 that said no. And I believe that anybody that God aligns me with is for a purpose, and that entails what his purpose for me is. So don't see a challenge as something bad. Challenges are good. Go for it. How are you going to grow if you don't encounter challenge? Yeah.
That's true. Just you will not grow if you do not try the difficult things, right? If you always maintain in the space of your comfort zone where it's
Mm-hmm.
easy, right?
Yep.
You are not
Mm-hmm.
going to grow. You are not going to go to the next level.
Not at
And
all.
as a podcaster and an entrepreneur, you know that we have to have an incredible amount of resilience, right? An
Listen,
incredible amount of resilience because it's difficult to push through every single week, putting out content, trying to figure
listen,
out the content that you're going to, like you
tell
said,
them,
guests, asking guests, turning guests down who
tell
contact
them.
you. You're not allowed, like you're not
Woo.
aligned.
Listen, tell them, tell them.
Yeah. And I mean, and then trying to edit the episodes, put it out, the marketing, all the publishing, all of that. I understand it, and you do have to. So, what are some things that you've built in for yourself in this process of being a podcaster and really an entrepreneur? Because people don't understand this is a business,
No,
right? We're not just getting
it
on
is a
here
business.
just
No,
deciding to set up a camera and want to be on.
this ain't a hobby. It's not a hobby.
Right,
It's not a
right,
hobby. Okay?
right.
It's a business and it's a brand. And because we
Yes,
take pride in our brand and our business, we have to work towards it. So it's not just, oh, we do it on the side as something for entertainment. No, this is a brand that we're putting out. And
right.
it qualifies us. It makes us I don't even know how to go about this. Well, let me tell you something. What I've learned doing the podcast and being an entrepreneur is no's are not bad. That's one.
Yes.
To continue learning, continue growing. Um, Always ensure that we try to, or I've taken this on in terms of always be, what's the word I'm looking for? We have to continue doing what we're doing for people to see that we're serious about what we're doing. Right? So if we
Yes.
can't just do a podcast, oh, 5 people listen to it, I'm not gonna do anymore. No.
Right.
We have to be consistent. That's the word. We have
Absolutely.
to be consistent in what we're doing. And I've learned that consistency not only is for the podcast, our business, but
Yes.
also in life. We have to be consistent. We have to show up for ourselves. If we don't
That's
show up
it.
for ourselves, we can't be a business owner. If we don't show up
Right.
for ourselves, we can't do a podcast. If we don't show up for ourselves, we can't be the best. How are we supposed to help people with our purpose or help people in the purpose that they need to be if it is that we're not helping ourselves?
Right. Right.
And that's what I've
No,
taken with me.
that's so true because even as a podcaster, like you said, and it's our brand, it's who we are, and being consistent and being disciplined every single week or every, other week or
Mm-hmm.
month or how often you put out episodes. But once you gain an audience, right, and the viewership and the
Yep.
listenership, they
Mm-hmm.
count on you to be
Yes.
there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've also set up a routine that you are included in, right?
Yes.
So I have had many people tell me or message me and say, hey, I listened to your episodes on my way to work or on my commute home or while I'm doing the dishes. That's my time to, or on Sunday morning. And so I have to think about that and go, okay, when I don't want to get up and I don't want to edit my episodes on Sunday, and I'm
Yep.
like, I just want to rest,
Yep.
but I can remember that I come into people's ears, I come
Yes.
into people's homes, right?
Yes.
And the same is with you. And we give them something,
Yes.
right? We give
Yes.
them something that touches them.
Yes.
And hopefully through the work that we do, we are making a difference.
Yes. Oh, we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are.
Now, let's go back to the relationship. So you were happily remarried
Yes.
now. And so how do you ensure that and I think you kind of touched on it before, but how do you ensure that this relationship thrives, that you don't go back to some of the things, like you said,
Mhm.
some of the parts that you said you did in your previous relationship, but of course it's a different person, different man.
Right.
And but how do you make sure it thrives and you have the trust and the communication that you wanted so badly before?
Okay. So first and foremost, I alone can't make the relationship thrive. It has to be both of us. So as long as
Mhm.
he's working on it and I'm working on it, it will thrive. What I have done though is when it is that I have done wrong, God bless my heart. When I have done wrong, I I need to think about it because I also need to say if I'm upset about something, why did this upset me this way? Because sometimes it's a me thing, not a him thing. And I don't want to, I've learned to not lash out because sometimes I'm gonna say this loosely. Sometimes we say, oh, we're emotional and it's okay to be emotional. It's not. We also need to figure out where's it stemming from. Because if it is that something is said and I don't like it and I get upset, I sometimes have to sit with it and say, what about this upset me this much? Is it because it's something similar to what I heard before? Or is it because I am in my feelings about this and I don't like how it is said? Then I can go and address him and say, hey, babe, I don't like how you said this to me,
Mhm.
right? So I have to also learn to take a step back and listen to it and say, okay, is it that I'm taking it out of context or was it said a particular way? If it was said a particular way, I know instead of going with emotions, I
Yes.
go and I say, okay, you had said this to me. What does this mean? Because sometimes we need clarity on what you mean by what you said. So what does this mean? And then you give the other person an opportunity to explain themselves as to what they meant when they said something, because they may say it and it's really nothing to be upset with, but you take it as something because maybe it's something you have still not dealt with. And I've learned to do that. I've also learned to ensure I figure out who I am in terms of how I deal with conflict, right? And
Mm.
the way how I have been dealing with conflict was not good before, and it was because I was with a particular person. So now I'm with this person. How do I now need to deal with conflict in terms of who am I? So
Yeah.
I've realized that okay, I did the five love languages and figure out my conflict style while doing those also. And I've said to the person, okay, this is it. I sent it to him. I said, these are it. So if it is that we have conflict, no, we are more open in talking about it. So we talk about it. I apologize. I'm the first to apologize about anything. If I said this to you and it offended you, I'm sorry. Do I want to always? No.
No. I totally understand that. Look at the
I don't.
growth that you have had. That is amazing. And we do have to be stewards of our relationship, right? And it is interesting that, different people can bring out different parts of us. And sometimes we're with someone and they bring out the best in us and it works. And then we're with people and it does not
Bring
work
out the
out.
worst. Yes. Sometimes I have to ask myself, sometimes, well, I'm right with what I said, I'm right. But sometimes I have to step back and say, do you want to be right or do you want to be married?
Right. That's it. That's
And
it. I love
one of my counselors said that to me once. She said, you're always saying about what you're saying is right, but do you want to be married or do you always want to be right?
it. Right.
And I was like,
That's it.
so my rightness must
Oh,
go. What?
yes.
But I
Yes.
have to learn that what I may view as being correct and how it is, it's not how the other person may. And I've heard also before, I am not your client,
Mm-mm.
right? So I
Right.
have to stop approaching my husband as if he's a client. You're not my client. So let's talk
Mhm.
about this. Let's get this out and figure it out. So that's what I've learned how to do to build trust, be open. Because I was a closed book after. But have to learn to be
Yeah.
open because you're not gonna get anywhere with anyone if you're not open to them and open to receive love. And I have to be open to receive love. So I've learned to do all that.
Love it. Love it. Well, Jade, I cannot believe that we are at our last question and our time is almost up because
Mm,
I have so much enjoyed this conversation. But
yeah.
lastly, what advice would you give to someone who is struggling with some type of emotional pain or setbacks in their own lives?
Figure out what caused those emotional pains and setbacks is that you're going through and you're experiencing. And sometimes we tie it to a person or individual. We need to figure out why. And counseling can help. I'm an advocate for counseling. Go to counseling, see if it is that they can help with that. Because sometimes we have to deal with our inner child to get through what is happening as an adult. So that's an advice I'd give to people to do.
Well, Jade, I just want to say thank you so much. And, for you being vulnerable and sharing your incredible journey with me and the
Mhm,
viewers on
mhm,
this episode of Life
mhm.
Jack the Resilience podcast. Your story is a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and unwavering commitment to success. I hope it will serve as for a beacon of inspiration for individuals striving to overcome challenges and achieve their dreams. So, how can listeners find and connect with you and listen to episodes of your podcast?
Okay, so listeners can contact me if they want to contact me at the unfiltered at jade at the unfiltered by jade, sorry, at gmail.com, or the unfiltered by jade on Instagram and www.theunfilteredbyjade.com. And an episode comes out every Tuesday. Yeah, and I'm on all podcast platforms. So you can find me there everywhere.
Love it. Any last words of encouragement for the listeners?
Yeah, I just want to tell them to love yourself, find who you are, and get back to who you were before whatever situation took place. That helps us sometimes figure it out because you can't go through life unhappy. You can't go through life, distressed like that. So find what makes you happy and thrive in it. Yeah,
I love it. Find what makes you happy and
and
thrive
thrive.
in it. You hear that, everyone? Well, Jade, I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much. And just as I knew it was going to be a great conversation because our first conversation was
Yes.
awesome as well.
Thank you
So
so
thank
much for having me. Thank you so much for having
Yes,
me.
yes, yes. And thank you for sharing your insights. I mean,
Yeah.
and this is the second episode of the visual podcast for Life Jack. Yay! I did it. No, but thank you so much. I appreciate you. I wish you and your family nothing but blessings and abundance.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Yes,
Please
thank you.
share.
All right. Thank you. Same to you.
All righty. All right. That was Jade, everyone, from Unfiltered, the resilient. I'm sorry, for Unfiltered by Jade. Sorry about that. Be sure to join me next time for more uplifting stories and insights on resilience. Until then, keep pushing forward, embrace the journey, and remember that every setback can lead to a greater comeback. Dr. Rowe, signing off.